Okay, so now that we got the script done and we got the recording done, now it's time to put everything together in the editing. And the first thing that I do is that I go back to the very beginning with the script. But this time, I do things a little bit more differently. I make a new file and I make what I like to call a visual script. This is where I check everything that I say and I write in some additional things to pretty much describe what the audience is going to see when I would say this part right here. And like to make it a little bit more different, I would pretty much highlight it in red and also italic as well. But that's just to make things more clear to me, like which one is the visual script and which one is like things I'm just gonna say. Basically, it's at that point I would decide rather if the audience is going to see just a clip from the movie or just an image or an animation that I would make, or even like something that I would film like where it involves like me doing like filming myself, like pretty much what I'm doing right now. Basically, this is pretty much storyboarding, but instead of like using like different images, I just write down words, so it makes things a little bit more clear to me, like in the long run. So then when I got the visual script done, it's time for me to go and get the clips. And there are several ways that I go and get the clips. Now, I just want to put in a disclaimer right now that the softwares that I'm going to say, some of them will be Mac exclusive, because I pretty much use a Mac, as you can see right here. So if ever there's like an alternative for Windows, I'll try to tell them. Now, the first thing that I would get is that a lot of my videos would come from YouTube. And the way that I would get my clips from YouTube is a software called Media Human YouTube Converter. This is basically, I would go and get the clips from YouTube, and basically I just turn them into a movie file, or I would even turn them into an MP3, which really does help because that's where I go and even get my scores, which actually, yeah, like I said, it really does help. I'm not fully sure if Media Human is also available for Windows, but I know that a free alternative is DVD VideoSoft. Now, DVD VideoSoft, they have like all different kinds of things, so I have, like, if you want to go and get some YouTube clips and turn them into MP4s or MP3s, I highly recommend that you go and get that for Windows users. But if I need a clip, like if I need the entire movie, that's going to be a problem, because like usually the entire movie would come in like several different parts, or most of the time they're not there. So that creates a little bit of a problem for me. So what do? Well, it's actually quite simple. When I have the DVD, I would go and put it on my computer, and I use this software called iSkysoft iMedia Converter. This basically just turns it takes all the files from the DVD and it turns it into a it pretty much turns it into a file that I can pretty much use, like an MP4 or a QuickTime movie player, essentially. And another handy thing that iSkysoft can do is that this is pretty much the ultimate converter. So I can pretty much take any file and I can turn it into something else. Like if I have a file that it's hard to play, and like sometimes my editing software can't really recognize like AVI, I would just use iSkysoft, I put it in there, and I turn it into something like an MP4 or a QuickTime movie. So it really is handy. And also, an alternative that I would do, that if a clip that I need is not on YouTube, it's on the DVD but I can't really get it because it's like the bonus features, what I do is that I would take my video camera and I would actually record it from my computer. And it's actually it's actually quite effective, and it really does bring in a good quality, actually. It's not like, you can't really tell if it's actually recorded or if it's actually the movie file itself. It's really, really good. I did, like, most of the time that I've done it was on the time when I talked about WALL-E in the Pixar Lookback, and it actually looks fantastic. Like, you can't really tell the difference. So yeah, it's pretty much a good alternative. A weird alternative, but a good alternative. So now that I got all the clips done, I got all my clips, I got all my music, I would then go and do the editing itself. Now, some of you may be wondering which editing software that I use. Now, as you can tell, I have a Mac. Some of you may expect that I use Final Cut Pro. That's not really the case for me. Ever since the very beginning when I started making videos, I always use the Adobe softwares. Whenever I need editing, I always use Premiere Pro. Whenever there's a photo that I need to create on my own, like I know I can't find it on Google Images, so I need to create it, I use Photoshop. And also whenever I would need like a special effects that's too complex to do on Adobe Premiere Pro, or if I need to do some actual animations that I need to make, I would use After Effects. So basically, you can say that I'm pretty much a hardcore Adobe user. So then, anyways, onto the actual editing. I actually have an order, not just for Animation Lookback, but for all my videos. I would go and start by putting in all the audio clips. I would put in all my recordings first to understand how long the video would be. Then I would go and put in the background music. Like, I would have to go and lower down that volume in order to make it as background music. And then finally, I would go and get my visual script and go and just pretty much do as it says and just put all the clips in order to what my visual script says. Like, I would put in all the clips, and then I would put in all the images. And then finally after that, it's when I go down into the more complex stuff. Like, if ever I would need any like special effects or any animations, if ever I would need Adobe After Effects, that's when I would go and use it. That's what I do. Like, I would do that last because I know that's going to be the hardest thing to do. And finally, when I get all that done, I then go and do one final revision of everything to see if it's to my liking. Now, revisions, I cannot stress enough, you have to do a revision. Like, every time when you're done, it's really important to do it in order to check if it's to your liking. If there's like a little part, like a little effect that doesn't really work for you, if there's a bit of adjusting that you want to do, it's at that time you can do it to your liking. I usually would go and revise once. There are times when I would have to even like revise twice in order to make it look good. But with Animation Lookback though, I would go and do a revision once, like for one part, and then when I'm fully done an entire part, like an entire video in itself, I would go and do a revision of all of that video to see if it's going like all according to plan for me. And finally, it's the time. Now, you guys might be wondering how long it's going to take for all that. Well, basically, this is going to be the longest part compared to like the writing and the recording. This takes a doozy to do. And again, like I mentioned in writing, it really does depend on how much I wrote into the script. If it's a short thing, that's like if it's like a small thing that's not too complex, I just need to add in like just a few images and a few videos, and it's like and the video is just, that part is just like 3 to 4 minutes long. It would take me about like 5 to 6 hours to do, from writing the visual script all the way down to the final revision. And if it's something that's very complex that I would have to do, like the Pixar movies or The Incredibles, where it's like 7 or 8 minutes long. It's I go into very detail. There's a lot of complex things to do. There's a lot of animations. There's a lot of special effects. There's a lot of filming that I have to do. Then that would probably take up to 8 to 10 hours, depending. Also, one thing I want to add in, if ever I need to do an actual animation, that would take an additional 2 to 3 hours plus to do like that small piece of animation itself. Because not only I have to do the actual animation where I have to animate every little like part of the body, from the arms to the eyes to the mouth and all that stuff, but it also I have to go and make the puppets to animate as well. So animation is pretty much, no matter in which format it is, it's a long process, even if it's just for a few seconds.
Don't worry, dude. I am absolutely sure about this. Besides, it's for research.
And that's pretty much it. All the way from the beginning to writing to the end of the script, that's pretty much how I make animation look back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned a bit about how I edit, and maybe how you guys can go and edit as well. And hopefully, let's see how far this technique can go. And see you later, dudes!
Well, darling, I'd like to thank you for inviting me, for sharing this with your audience.